We have to be allowed to do what we want, to appoint the president we need. Outsiders must not impose people upon us to manage us. That's the end of it.
As citizens of Niger, we're against the French military bases, the American bases, the Canadian and the Italian bases. All those foreign bases that are in Niger, we don't need them.
Our armed forces must not give in to any blackmail. Niger is resilient. We are resilient. What we produce, our GDP, is more than enough for us to survive. We call on the armed forces, the security forces, to resist those attempts to blackmail us.
It's interesting. When it comes to the conflict in Ukraine, Macron makes it all about the interests of Ukrainians. But when unrest breaks out in Niger, it's all about French interests. It wasn't that long ago that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was undressing France on the world stage and exposing its colonial interests in all their glory.
This is a child who works in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. It's one of the poorest nations in the world. France prints colonial money for Burkina Faso, which has gold. In return, they demand that 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child goes down a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state. So the solution is not to take the Africans and bring them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have.
In the end, Macron might try to dress up and justify his actions and frustrations as defending democracy in Niger rather than economic neocolonialism. But the reality is that the emperor really is just standing there in his fancy Lacoste boxer shorts by this point.
Well, earlier we discussed this with an activist from South Africa who says that Niger's sudden decision to stop exporting uranium and gold will bring some rather severe consequences to France.
Cancelling and blocking any sales to France of the uranium will not affect them in any way because, after all, they were not benefiting. It will affect France immensely because the existence of France, the French economy's entire existence depends on exploitation of Africans and African resources. There is no France without Africa. And I am happy that the Francophone, the French-speaking African countries are eventually waking up and demanding their worth and realizing their worth. France is a criminal state that survives on looting and exploiting and stealing and killing of African people in the French-speaking countries all over, in Congo, Burkina Faso, everywhere. Russia has already played a pivotal role in awakening the black people. Russia has worked as a messiah who was sent to Africa to awaken them, to conscientize, because the relationship that African people and the African countries had with the West was that of slavery, was that of master and a slave, was that of colonialism, and it was that of a garden boy and a kitchen cat. Russia then came.
So while the French and the West are out there talking about Niger, the Chinese are making progress. The Chinese are like, okay, we understand there is a problem. We understand that Niger should have a democratic process in place. And we also understand that having these schools in Africa is not the right way to go. But it has happened. Let's look for a way to coexist. So the Chinese ambassador met with the interim prime minister of Niger. So let's look at this article. The headline says, China to mediate in Niger crisis. That China has taken a frontline role in the crisis in Niger. Beijing stands with Nigerians on current political situation, says Chinese envoy to Niamey. that Beijing understands the situation and Beijing stands with the people of Niger, and Beijing will try her best to figure out a long-lasting solution to the problem. China is very proactive when it comes to issues like this. They don't choose side, they don't draw their feet, they just move ahead and figure out a way to get things going. The Chinese government intends to mediate Niger's crisis, where the military deposed the elected president more than a month ago. According to its envoy to the West African country, Jin Fang held talks Monday with Niger's transition prime minister Ali Mahani in the Nigerian capital of Niamey. Fang said China always pursued the principle of non-interference in other countries' internal affairs, and it is keenly following the situation in Niger. The Chinese government intends to play the role of a mediator with full respect for the regional countries to find a political solution to this Nigerian crisis, Fang told reporters after the meeting. China stands with the Nigerians in this situation. He said China has always stood with African countries, but encourages them to devise their own solutions to their problems. The meeting reportedly focused on the political situation in Niger. China remains Niger's partner in several areas, including energy, oil, and infrastructure. According to officials, the two countries are working on the construction of a 2,000 kilometers long oil exportation pipeline, which would facilitate transportation of crude oil from southern Niger's Agandan fields to the port of Sim in Benin. Zain said talks are on the way with the Economic Community of West African States on the possibility of lifting as soon as possible sanctions imposed on Niger following the political crisis. He said similar discussions are underway on a rapid French military withdrawal of about 1,500 troops stationed in Niger. Niger was plunged into turmoil July 26 when General Chiani, a former commander of the Presidential Guard, led a military intervention that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. China has taken the front row in helping Niger resolve the crisis. So let's all hope that this crisis can be resolved as soon as possible and the local Nigerian can get what they deserve, because for far too long they have been cheated. They have been deprived of what they deserve. And let's see France pull out of the country. But you guys out there, what is your take on the Chinese mediating in this crisis in Niger? Do you trust the Chinese to mediate in good faith? Share your thoughts and opinions with us in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. And also, don't forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because little bit of goodwill that the one you're doing just now help us a lot, and we shall forever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.